Welcome in. It's time for another Morning Espresso here on the SDH Network. I'm Jason Longshore. All the soccer news that you need to know for Monday, January 27th. Hectic 24, 48, 72 hours in the SDH Network universe, in the Atlanta soccer universe, in the worldwide soccer universe, because we're down to the last week of silly season for the clubs in Europe to add players. Still could be players who leave Europe and come to Major League Soccer. That window's open until April. The Brazilian window will be open as well. The Argentine window is still open for about another week. It's just total chaos everywhere. And look, Atlanta United is part of this conversation. Let's go back to Saturday in Chattanooga. Chattanooga FC won the preseason opener over Atlanta United 2-1. Make sure you check out the full-time report to hear from Brad Gazan, to hear from Ronnie Dyla, to hear from myself, from Mike Conti, from Madison Cruz, from John Nelson, from Finley Stadium in Chattanooga with our thoughts immediately after that match. Since then, there have been a few developments, because one of the big things hanging over that match was talk about Miguel Almiron. As it appeared the team was saying goodbye to him, and it appeared the fans were saying goodbye to him in their win over Southampton. Well, according to Cesar Luis Merlo and Herman Garcia Grova and Fabrizio Romano, I mean, that's about as heavyweight as it gets across all three spectrums of the transfer market. Miguel Almiron's return to Atlanta is imminent, according to all three of them. Romano was the latest one this morning. 4.5-year contract, according to most of the reports. I've seen 4, I've seen 5, 4.5, somewhere in all of that. The fee is around $12 million US. And Miguel is set to travel either for medical tests or to put pen to paper on this deal. That could happen anytime this week, it's sounding like. Reports out of Newcastle were that Almiron was at the training facility at Newcastle United this morning, perhaps saying goodbyes to the squad once again. Emmanuel Latte Lath. Now, this is a little bit different. There is an injury scare when it comes to Latte Lath. He was subbed out in the 11th minute of Saturday's match for Middlesbrough. Reportedly, it was precautionary. Reportedly, it's a groin injury. If it's a longer-term issue, would Atlanta still want to bring him in, knowing that he could miss a lot of time up front, but obviously still be the potential player that the club is interested in? There's 1 week left in the incoming transfer window for Middlesbrough. They are linked to another striker. They've already added one. They're linked to another striker, David Strelic, a Slovakian national team striker from Slovan Bratislava. That would be an additional purchase. According to Dominic Shaw of the Northern Echo, any additional purchases would only happen if Emmanuel Latte Lath is sold. And there has not been any conversation in the papers in England or anywhere else for that matter about a potential move getting done for Latte Lath to Atlanta or anywhere else. There hasn't been another offer according to reports. There were also reports on Saturday morning out of Portugal that Arthur Cabral, who had been linked with Atlanta early on in the silly season, that he had been the subject of an offer from Atlanta United to his club Benfica. Now, look, Benfica is an absolute mess right now. They've lost 3 of their last 4 league matches. They're 7 points behind the league leader, Sporting. They blew a match to Barcelona in Champions League on Wednesday. They lost that 5-4. Now they have to travel to Turin to face Juventus on Wednesday. They had to have an emergency press conference yesterday. Chaos in Portugal, which is known for having chaos with these top teams. I don't know if that's good or bad when it comes to a potential of Arthur Cabral leaving Benfica and coming to Atlanta United. Botafogo and Cruzeiro have also been linked with a move for Cabral. They're back in his native Brazil. West Ham was mentioned at one point as well, but it sounds like they're moving on to different targets. Fabrizio Romano's been busy. It's that last week. Again, he's going to be very busy over the next few days. He says that Neymar's return to Santos is now imminent. Verbal agreements have been reached. It's now down to the contractual details between Santos and Al Hilal. The Naomi Girma transfer to Chelsea is finally official. $1.1 million fee, a new world record in the women's game. And it's the 4th time the record has been broken in the last 3 years. Let's get into some other news from the weekend. Ange Postecoglou, he's in trouble at Spurs after their loss at home to Leicester. They're 8 points clear of the relegation spots. They are in 15th place. Injuries are just killing the squad right now, but they're also not playing well either. So it's a little bit of both. The Carabao Cup is their saving grace at the moment, and we'll see where the patience level is going to be for Postecoglou. He did not sound great after the match. He sounded very defeated, and I don't know what people really want him to say at this point. I think there's a lot of playing the statement game from some pundits, and I don't think there's really a correct answer for Postecoglou at this point. He's trying to get what he can out of this group of players. He doesn't have enough players to truly compete, but he's got to get more out of this group of players because they haven't been as good as they could be as well. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim has taken a completely different tack when it comes to how you handle the media and how you handle his players. He said he would rather play a 63-year-old goalkeeper coach Jorge Vital in his team rather than Marcus Rashford, unless the out-of-favor forward starts to, quote, give the maximum every day in training and in life, unquote. They're trying to get rid of Rashford. This can't be a big help in doing that. I'm going to assume that because of this quote, that Marcus Rashford might not leave Manchester, and that's going to be more of a problem going forward for Amorim. That is not handling things well, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it'll spark a change. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't like the move. I don't like talking about your players in that way. Kylian Mbappe, he had his first hat trick for Real Madrid. They're 4 points clear at the top of La Liga. Atleti coming back the other way. They drew 1-1 with Villarreal. The Madrid derby is coming up on February 8th. Barcelona Femení, they won their fourth straight Supercopa 5-0 over Real Madrid, one of the most dominant women's teams in the world, Barcelona. Napoli, they ended Juventus' unbeaten start to the Serie A season. Romelu Lukaku scored the winner in the 2-1 win. Juventus are now in fifth. Now, I did say they were unbeaten in the Serie A coming into this match. They had 13 draws and 8 wins. This is their first league loss. Napoli has a 3-point lead at the top of the table. Inter have a game in hand, though, and they are in second place. In Serie A as well, go check the highlights of Milan's wild comeback win over Parma 3-2. They were losing 2-1 in stoppage time in that one. James Rodriguez, he scored for León in their 1-0 win over Juarez in Liga MX. The fireworks were in Mexico City, though. Gonzalo Pineda, our old friend, and his fellow manager for Pumas, Gustavo Lena, they were both sent off for an argument late in the scoreless draw. Kind of a weird moment watching it back. The fourth official maybe got a little overzealous in this one. Both managers sent off. Lena was very upset with Pineda and Diego de la Torre. This is a big result for Atlas, who I think are playing well under Gonzalo Pineda. This is a young team. It's not a very expensive team in terms of the valuations of these players, but they're finding results on the road. They're just struggling to find goals as well. A scoreless draw in Pineda's homecoming to his home in a lot of ways at Pumas. Kind of a weird way for it to all go down, getting sent off though. We'll see what comes out of that for Atlas. Some updates on the MLS side of things. LAFC, they sold Mateusz Bogusz to Cruz Azul for a reported $10 million. 20 goals in 48 games across all competitions for Bogusz. I don't know how LAFC replaces that production. Olivier Giroud, when he started to take the number 9 spot away from Bogusz as the year went on, I did not think LAFC was as strong as they were. Maybe with an offseason, maybe with a full preseason, Giroud will be able to deliver more. I think Bogusz fit the team better. LAFC did add Yaya Boa previously of Columbus. Chicago Fire, they have transferred Federico Navarro to Rosario Central in Argentina. Red Bulls have transferred Dante Vanzer to Ghent in Belgium for a reported $3 million. Austin, another big move for Austin FC. They spent a reported $12.3 million to acquire Albanian international forward Mirto Uzuni from Granada in the Spanish second division. Uzuni is the all-time leading scorer for Granada, 49 goals in 106 games in all competitions. He's got 14 goals in 18 games this season. Chicago, they signed Romanig Kouame from Cadiz in the Spanish second division. He's an international from Mali, central midfielder. LA Galaxy acquired Elijah Winder from Louisville City. It's a record transfer reportedly from an MLS club to a USL Championship club. He was the 2024 USL Championship Young Player of the Year. Vancouver, they signed Canadian international winger Jaden Nelson from Rosenborg in Norway. He's a former Toronto homegrown player, so Vancouver's going to be very familiar with him. And some updates on the business side in the NWSL. Ted Segal, the owner of the Houston Dynamo and the Houston Dash, he's exploring a possible sale of the Dash. I think some of the headlines have not been accurate here. In a letter to the staff, Segal said that the process could end up being a control sale of the club, meaning somebody would buy full control, buy all of it, buy enough to be in charge. It could be a situation where people additionally invest and join Segal's group, or there could be no change. So stay tuned on that. It'll be interesting to see what the valuations are for the Houston Dash in the NWSL. Speaking of staying tuned, stay tuned to all the updates when it comes to Miguel Almiron, to Emmanuel Latte Lath, maybe Arthur Cabral. Who knows who else could pop up in this last week of the silly season when it comes to Europe. The MLS window stays open longer. Keep that in mind. Don't forget that Atlanta can add players after the European window closes. Those clubs in Europe, though, just can't add replacements, and that's the key to remember in all of this timing. 9:05 for SDH Live this morning. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on X, you can watch on Facebook, you can watch on Twitch. John Nelson will be running the show there to keep you up to date on everything Atlanta United related or just soccer related in general, and I'm sure there will be a lot of talk about our old friend Miguel Almiron and the match in Chattanooga over the weekend. I'll be back with more Espresso tomorrow morning.